If I install Debian or Ubuntu or derivative thereof, I'm going to use apt-get or aptitude, which is a command. If I go to OpenSUSE, I'm going to use zypper, Zypper on the command line. Technically different commands.
Gotcha.
But so much of the core commands that you use for basic computing, I don't see a difference of when I jump from distro to distro.
Cool.
As long as you're in Bash. Bash is your command terminal. 99% of all distros use Bash, but if you're going away from Bash, Born Again Shell stands for, you might have an issue there, but I think that would be a high exception. And then if you were going to one of the distributions that didn't use Bash, I think you wouldn't have asked that question to begin with.
All right, next one. What exactly does Wine let me do in Linux? Would it say, let me run the PC version of iTunes if I wanted to? Does it just allow me to use Windows drivers?
iTunes. Okay, Wine stands for Wine is not an emulator. The best way to explain Wine is it's an emulator.
Right.
Because that's what people think of it as.
I would say it's a translator. That might be a better way of describing it, in my opinion.
So you can, and you can, because I'm actually using Wine to run Desktop Presenter for my broadcasting programs. You can run iTunes and other programs on it, right?
Older versions, newer versions of iTunes is QuickTime and it's embedded in it. Absolutely, you can't really do much with it. You can, I think it's usually for Wine, usually it's a version behind or something like that for a lot of the stuff for iTunes. But some of the stuff is just flawless. Matter of fact, they even did some testings. I'm not a gamer. I forgot what game. I don't know if it was World of Warcraft or one of those last year. They actually did testing natively on Windows and threw Wine on Linux and actually had better performance under Wine under Linux than natively on Windows.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because how it would handle it after that. So yeah, it's all going to depend. They have a list that, yes, it'll work, no, it won't. And then there's other ones like Crossover Office. Crossover Office is Wine, but it's a paid-for version of Wine that has more advanced stuff in it. So what usually happens is I purchase a copy of Crossover Office. I do that to support them. Well, they turn around and they're doing all this development. Well, they turn around and give all that code right back to Wine. So it helps everybody out. So that's one of the reasons I buy Crossover Office. And Crossover Office generally does the newer software and the newer stuff is usually there first. There's some exceptions, but nowadays Wine is, a lot of people are starting to belt for Wine. If something comes out and it's not working, usually within 1 to 4 days, there's a fix out there saying, here, do this and this and put this DLL in your Wine folder.
Really?
And when you run Wine, let's say you want to run Solitaire, sol.exe. You would run it, your command line, Wine space sol.exe. And to kick off, because that tells your computer, start Wine up, then go to the exe.
I got you.
Right. It's kind of like saying in the Windows world, start run IE Explorer space www.google.com. Use one to open the other kind of thing. And even with like 4 gigs of RAM on your Linux box, running a thin Linux, running Wine and iTunes will still run bad because iTunes is so bloaty, so heavy, so demanding. The other thing I'll say is I didn't know this. We had an email like 2 months back where the guy said you can technically run iTunes just fine in Wine, but when it comes to the USB interface, you cannot do firmware updates on the iPods and the iPhones because it needs to reboot the device and then catch it during the reboot stage somehow.
Sounds like a nice way to brick your device.
Well, plus, if you had to use iTunes for your iPhones and stuff, Door now doesn't Rhythmbox do that out of the box? Supports it?
Rhythmbox, and there's a GPotter plugin that will allow the native support for even iPhone 5.
Awesome. All right. What question are we up to? 5.
5.
How do I get a network drive to automatically mount upon startup?
Okay, Tracy, do you know of a GUI that will do this? Because I don't know of one.
No, what I do is if you want to create a shortcut, let's say, like up in your taskbar, if you right click on a taskbar in Linux, and then you say, add, and then you get that little, this is in GNOME, by the way. And then I'm going off memory here. You'll get a pop-up. What do you want to add? Then you can add, your trash can. But if towards the top, it's going to say custom launcher. If you click on that, there's just a command you do. And by default, if there's no username or password, it's drop dead simple. All you do is if it's on a Windows share of some kind, which most are, even if it's on some shared devices, because even a lot of those NAS boxes run Samba, you have to invoke the Samba command, kind of like Dora was talking before, and I was talking how you had wine first. But basically, you type SMB : //, and that just says, hey, Samba, and then the servers /share. And then the shortcut's there. Click on it and you open it. And then I'm sorry, I got to mute here for a second.
No problem.
I apologize about that.
That's okay.
And then if you want to put it where it mounts every time, just basically put the same command in your FS tab folder from the beginning. There used to be one, but a GUI, what he was talking about, but I haven't seen that in forever and a day. I type it in so quick, so I wouldn't even know to look for a GUI right now.
All right.
Yeah. I'll say the one that I did know of, I don't encourage anyone to use, and it's called PY Neighborhood. Not intuitive, not easy.
Okay.
You really have to first understand how to mount before you can use the GUI tool to mount. I sent him a couple commands. Step 1, make a new folder. Step 2, edit that FS tab file, which stands for File System Table file. Here's what you basically put in that file to mount the drive. It's using a SMBFS, Samba file system, I think it is. And that's how I was able to get stuff to automatically mount, like before boot. I mean, not before, that's kind of impossible. During boot, before the user log in.
I see. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Now, also, don't forget, if your device, let's say you got FreeNAS on there, or Drobo, or the SanDisks, or whatever you use, a lot of them will have what's called NFS support, Network File System. Linux boxes out of the box support NFS, and it's a true file system developed and maintained for the network. So if your device, if whatever your share is, has NFS support, enable it immediately. You'll have a lot better performance running NFS than going through Samba. Although it's one of those, I think, mathematical fasters where you notice it. Who knows?
Right.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Last question, and he says, last but not least, if I missed I knew I could answer one of these questions. If I missed a live version of Linux for the Rest of Us, where can we find the show notes or the links that are mentioned during the show? Thanks for the efforts you put into the shows. I hope to get up to speed so that I can offer more feedback soon. That's Pete, who is Stop and Go Man. I can answer this one. I know this one. Podnutz.com. If you go there, and you actually go podnutz.com/LFTR. Linux for the LFTROU. It stands for Linux for the Rest of Us. Or just click the show logo for Linux for the Rest of Us on the side of the screen. We have all the shows there, and when I get the notes and we post them and they're done, then they will go there. So any of the shows you see on the actual website, the notes should be there. And if they're not, just wait a little bit, and they should be there soon. So. Thank you, Pete, for the email. That is it for our emails for the day. Guys, let's go around and tell us any last comments you have and anything else you want to say to the folks. Dor.
I'll just say this is the time of the year for everyone to show what we're thankful for. I think we all need to just stop, slow down, and think about how much entertainment that, to be honest, Steve C has given us, period. Throughout the years, all of the shows, all of the time, all of the effort, all of the products that he gave to us over the years. If you have not bought any of his products, at least go to Amazon.com, Podnutz, buy yourself something. and give Steve some extra money without paying anything extra. We all need to make sure we support those who support us, kind of thing. And Steve supports my sanity every time a podcast comes on and I'm driving around I-95 and the top side of the Baltimore Beltway, which AKA is hell on earth.
I know it is. And you did this on last show, man. It makes
That's okay.
I always give it right back to him. I'm thankful for Dor and Tracy and everybody else who contributes to the show. And like I said before, if you guys have noticed,